Hi guys, I'm Shmi and today we're in Portugal at Estoril circuit for the European launch of this car, the new Honda NSX. And I'm going to get an opportunity to drive the car both on track and on the roads later on today. So first I'm going to go for a quick walk around before my first track session. I should point out though, right there we've got one of the original NSXs, the car that launched, debuted in 1989 and then went into production from 1990 to 2005. Well, this is the long-awaited successor, the 2017 Honda NSX. Also for the American viewers out there, the Acura NSX too. But let's take a little walk around and talk about some of the sort of details and the headline numbers. I mean, it's immediately a pretty striking car. It's a completely new style of sort of design language versus the former generations of the NSX. And indeed, there's also a lot of clever technology at play in this. And we'll start with the engines. So the petrol motor, because it is a hybrid, is a 3.5 litre twin turbocharged V6. That is combined with a direct drive motor to the rear, taking us up to 581 PS in total when you also add in the twin motor units that operate on the front wheels, one for the left, one for the right. So you've got the three electric motors supporting the petrol motor. 646 Newton meters of torque as a result of that, and a lot of clever sort of tech in terms of the driving modes and variable and adjustable different settings. So we're going to get to play with all of that through Quiet, Sport Plus and Track later on. Let's have a very quick look now into the inside, done by pulling open the door like so. And in here again, you've got a new look to the interior that we're going to be going through in significantly more detail later on. I'll show you all of the displays and different bits and bobs. For the moment though, I should go and get prepared and get ready for my first track session. We've jumped straight into the car then, and I'm joined by Sakamoto-san,
Hello.
Assistant Product Developer.
Yeah,
and
powertrain leader.
Head of the powertrain development.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of clever stuff with the powertrain in this car. We're going to do, I think, 4 laps in each of the driving modes.
Different mode,
And we've started in quiet
mode,
EV mode, and it is very, very quiet.
At quiet mode, the engine speed goes up to just for 4,000 RPM maximum. Making the car to quieter. And then the suspension and the steering is very comfortable side. And then the throttle, as you know, they're very gentle right now. And we'll try to make it very quiet for this mode.
So quiet mode is focused on making it a sort of everyday drive, comfortable, quiet, civilized.
Also neighbors or restaurant, that kind of situation is good.
So what other sort of factors does it affect? It's controlling all of the variable components in the car, right?
Actually, 11 items we are controlling.
11 items, okay.
Including the dash change. So it's very, not physically changed, but you can see that something that looking different, So
now we have our lap in sport mode then.
In this mode, the transmission shifting is still soft side, very tender and smooth. The next Sport Plus, you can get more crispier shift change.
Doing the lap in sport though, the car is very easy to get a quick grip of and to feel quite at home in straight away.
Okay, change to the Sport Plus mode, please.
Okay, one to the right. So in Sport Plus, does it always keep the motor, the engine?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
No more EV driving. Just the motor and the power used for the acceleration and the vectorings. And then from this mode, the suspension gets more stiffer. That steering feels more direct. And of course more throttle response. And giving more sound. Probably you can hear.
So time for the slalom. Definitely hear more sound.
That's right.
There's very good feel to the braking.
Good. We are using the by-wire system. Some issues controlling the
Sport Plus is already quite a lot of fun.
I think even a truck mode, the suspension setting is the same.
Okay.
Big difference is the traction control.
Okay, yeah. So press pull and hold to the right.
Yep, 4 seconds. Yep, so
Into
you can
track
see the
mode,
traction
yep.
control off, but still a little bit.
Yeah.
If you want to cut off or completely off, there is the button on the dash, the right hand side.
Okay, yeah.
Push the brake with the left hand foot, a little bit harder.
Yep.
And throttle 1.5%. You can see already, and release the brake.
Okay, hold it at 2,000 and go.
Yep. That's giving all into the power.
It's pretty quick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to tell you this is a slow car.
Quick up to the over the 1G.
I think my first experience of the car is how you instantly feel at home in here. The way it's all set up, I feel like it's a very easy car to gel with. Very natural to your senses, even though there's so much technology at play to make it happen. Back in the pit lane, and that really was jumping straight in the deep end. Session 1 down, and we're about to go out for session 2 as well, but a very quick walk around of the car that I was just driving, because it is a very, very elegant machine. One thing I want to touch on though, of course, is with all of the electric motors at play here, obviously there's a lot of heat that needs cooling, so airflow over the car and cooling through the car have been spectacularly important throughout the development. So you can imagine everything is shaped for optimum sort of airflow through, ducts to pull the air out, even the door mirrors shaped to direct air around the car to get it in through here, through the radiators and cooling through the engine bay, which we can just take a quick glance at there. Before the air's obviously over the top, kicked up over the spoiler, and a lot of vents and lower sort of ducts to let the air out as well. So airflow, spectacularly important on the NSX, and you can imagine, well, the time that's been spent to develop it and make sure that all works correctly. I need to get my helmet back on because we're going out for session number 2.
Power, go. Why don't stay left? It's flat, don't lift or brake, just turn in. Keep going. Okay, hard braking. Staying on the brakes, now reducing brake pressure slightly, come off the brakes and roll in. And from here it's a gradual progression on the accelerator, so a little bit more. That's where you get your torque vectoring from the front axle. Power. Okay, take a look at your battery charge on the straight.
Dropped about a third. Now we're reducing a bit more as we floor it down the start straight.
Okay, so braking, and stay on the left side, so late turning, late apex. So turn into the corner, just keep driving through. I'm going to show you now. If I try to change over the driving modes, not available. Now this is because the car recognises you have 0.5 G's in cornering force.
Yeah, I was going to say when you change it on the
So
corner.
it knows that you have to move one hand off the wheel, and it also knows that it's reducing your traction control. So for safety, you have to be either in a straight line or under 0.5 G's. Now turn and hold it for 5 seconds to the right side. Now it's going to turn to track mode. So it's going to allow some more understeering now, and it will allow more oversteering. So you have to be a little bit more on top of things as a driver. Okay, and it allows about, let's say, 15% of slip when you're on the power at the back end. So stay left, just fall flat. Just turn it in, right down. Going to take a look at your battery percentage. So
okay, yeah, it's gone up slightly rather than down, in the supercar, nearly 600 horsepower with the petrol and 3 electric motors to help you. Instant torque to counter the turbo lag. It's clever.
Yeah.
I like clever.
Clever's good when it's easy to use.
Yes, clever's not so good when there's a sort of complete mindset shift needed to understand how to use it.
Clever's not good when you need to be clever to use clever.
Yes, that's a perfect way to put it. Second session complete, and that track car is running on the Trofeo R tyres, which is kind of a semi-slick, super glued to the road, and that's obviously supported and helped by the low centre of gravity in the car, and you can really feel that. So I've got one more session out on the track, and then it's going to be to the road, where I feel I can get a little bit more of a sense, more normal environment for me of what the car is going to be like to drive, and then I'll show you around the interior as well. But session 3, let's go have a little bit more fun. It's time for me to drive solo, so this is going to be a little bit different. I've started it quiet, but let's forget that. Sport Plus. Wow, you can hear quite a significant change to the engine noise when you do it like that. Let's get to experience this in a world where I can think about it a little bit more because I've become more familiar with the car. It's a very enjoyable drive, there's no question about that. Start straight, let's press and hold to the right, put it into track mode again, and have some fun. Exactly what we want. Obviously I could turn it all off, but I don't want to at the moment. I'm trying to concentrate on a lot of things at once, learning as I go, seeing what is what. So little play over. I'm going to jump in the passenger seat, and this is about to get pretty wild. It takes skills to do that, but that was very smooth.
Yeah.
Now that was a pretty exciting passenger lap with Nick Edwards, and it's got me thinking a little bit more about the technology, because what this car offers is sort of more akin to what we're used to seeing in the hypercar territory. You know, previously you could only get access to this kind of tech with a 918 Spider, a P1, a LaFerrari, that kind of integration of technology into car. This time around though, in a sort of super sports car, £137,000 in the UK for the NSX. So you've got this combination of the sort of direct unit powering up the petrol motor to boost the sort of power available from the rear. You've also got the front wheels running their own twin motors to give you that extra power and pull and instant torque. So while you might have the sort of slight lag from the turbochargers, you actually have instant torque available through the electric motors up front. So you have that ability to very delicately control the car and keep it in balance on the sort of slide like you've just seen, which works brilliantly, and it's a very neat integration. I'm obviously going to be taking these cars out onto the road. I think I'm going to be driving in the red car at the back here that I started with earlier today, but we've got a range of different specs just to have a look at here. But initial experience of the drive so far is incredible in terms of how easy it is to sort of jump in, feel at home, and use that technology in a way that, I mean, you don't have to be desperately on it to understand what's going on. You can drive the car, put it down on the tarmac, and get the most out of it, almost sort of just jumping in and giving it a go. So I'm interested to see now how it translates on the road, so we will jump into the car. We find ourselves on a pretty nice road, so I'm starting off in quiet mode on the car. Now, one of the interesting things with the dynamic mode control is that it actually changes 11 different aspects of the drive. So you have the throttle response, the braking response, the dampers, the display that you're physically looking at, steering feel, basically everything is variable. So the sort of argument is you've got almost 4 different kinds of cars in one. And I can tell you, driving in quiet mode where the revs are limited, the suspension is as soft as it can be.
In 1.5 kilometers, turn right.
We do have the navigation system running as well, just on a predefined route that we're following this afternoon. It's super peaceful, it's very quiet in here. They're saying that between quiet mode and the track mode, there's actually a difference in 25 decibels of the audio volume inside, which is quite significant and pretty much never seen before. From a general driving point of view, one of the other big things is the sort of ergonomics of the interior. The A-pillars, for example, are really quite narrow, so they don't sort of intrude into your view. You've got a lot of visibility all the way around you. Things like the instrument panel is positioned low enough that you can sort of see completely straight over it. It doesn't intrude at all. You've got great visibility over the front scuttle, and equally the steering wheel, which has a very nice satin carbon finish in here, has a flat sort of top, again, to not intrude into your visibility. So everything's been thought about to optimize the kind of daily driving experience of the car. I'm going to turn the drive mode, which sort of looks like this large kind of almost volume control in the center, one notch to the right. We go into sport, the display changes, everything will sort of sharpen and liven up slightly. The big difference is, I guess, Sport Plus are a little bit similar, but will just sort of vary the valve control, that kind of thing's a little bit more. And there's also an intake sound control, 2 little speakers sort of kind of things behind the seats, which allow noise almost to come in from the V6 behind us, and to give you a little bit more of the experience inside the cabin. So we're just sort of pootling along. I haven't gone into manual on the paddles yet because we do have 9 gears, which is rather a lot. First is primarily for launch control, 9th is primarily for long distance cruising, you know, on the motorway, that kind of side of things.
Turn right.
But driving peacefully like we are at the moment, it's a very satisfactory sort of car to be driving in. Turn it up one more notch.
Arriving at destination on left.
Sport Plus. Let's see what happens.
Turn left.
We've been driving on the motorway, which was not the most exciting, so I put it back into the normal sport mode for driving, so we'll go back now into Sport Plus. And one of the interesting things with Sport Plus is it will no longer turn off the petrol motor, so it'll be 100% running all the time on, using up the electric power and the petrol engine power. If you were in the quiet mode or something and you were driving on electric, you actually get 2 or 3 miles driving up to 50 miles an hour, 80 kilometers an hour, running on just electric in silent mode. So that's a kind of cool thing to be able to do. I'm going to press the button in the center here to go manual on the paddles, just to have, I guess, a little play with the click. There's sort of quite a resounding click to it when you press the paddle at the back. And when you put your foot down, you hear a lot more noise in here. That is so much more than when you're driving in quiet. Okay, the car kind of came to life there. I see what they mean with the different driving modes. Going from quiet into Sport and Sport Plus really is a whole new machine, a whole lot more lively. And I mean, obviously from driving on the track earlier, we were experiencing the different sort of feel of the steering and the suspension and dampers, the setup there. But we can see how all the tech has developed this very variable machine. Now, something that's kind of interesting in the way this works is that the twin motors at the front are producing 37 PS each, just over 70 Newton meters of torque. So you get that kind of instant pull away coming out of a corner, and obviously experience that significantly more on the track, but you can sort of feel on the road that you're driving a sort of 4-wheel drive car that's ready to get up and go, and you can put the power down pretty early in the corners and get on the move. Now, it is quite a large car. In terms of the design, there's not much overhang, so you've got a long wheelbase and a low sort of look to it, but it is quite sort of wide when positioning on the road. In the mirrors, you have a lovely design of the mirror to start, but you get a great view of the intakes down the side. And I'll talk a bit more about the airflow over the car when we get back, because there's some trick stuff going on there too. I mean, it's not hard to position or place the car by any stretch of the imagination, but you're certainly sort of aware of where are the rear arches and how far out of the mirrors. But I guess it's all the kind of feel of a car you can use on a regular basis, and I'm loving this variation in the different character that I'm experiencing driving the car on these kind of roads. Now, one of the fun things is the electric mode. How there you can hear the engine firing back in. When we're just pootling around, you have the engine going off and on. So there, goes off. So now we're just sort of running 100% on electric. And then when you press your foot, the engine sort of slowly comes back into life behind the scenes. We've also just been driving on some interesting roads like this with lots of bumps, but on some cobblestones, and has to be said, the ride for a car with this sort of capability is very, very smooth. Obviously a lot has gone into developing that, but you can certainly feel the rewards. One thing I find a little bit funny is the brake feel when driving gently. It's the by-wire system, which on the track actually I thought was quite solid, but driving around with the regen, it's a slightly strange feel. But I guess just a little bit of getting used to. We're definitely on an interesting route right now, but explore and discover. That was definitely not the way we were supposed to be going, and as polite and lovely as the lady on the navigation system is, it's a little bit confusing to follow, I'm not going to lie. Getting a little bit lost, but that being said, pretty minor thing in the grand scheme of things. I do like this style, the way you put it back into Sport Plus, and things get a little bit noisier as we come out of town, driving through some lovelier scenery as well. So, all being all, I mean, the car, it positions well, it handles well. It's obviously very, very quick. Not a bad package. Ourselves on some more sort of open and flowing roads, there's certainly a very sort of rewarding feeling pushing on with the car. It lets you know that it's having fun, you're having fun. Sounds like a good combination to me. We've returned to the circuit, and I'm going to show you around the interior and a little bit more detail of the sort of airflow on the outside of the car. So we'll be taking a look at the silver one, but just before we do that, we're going to hear and see the red car that I've just been driving as it heads off, because I realise I haven't actually filmed the startup of that V6 yet, so let's hear how it sounds. Right then, let's take a look around the NSX, thinking about the airflow. Two main reasons. One is cooling. You've got 3 electric motors that need to be kept cool. And the second is aerodynamics. A lot of work has had to go into making sure all of this works properly. You've got 2 electric motors up front and a very big radiator, of course, to do its thing. So you've got a lot of open space around the front. Now, one of the things that happens is you get air, you've got a lot of turbulent air in the wheel arch that's coming out and going over that way somewhere, but it needs to be brought down the side of the car to go inside those signature vents to cool the engine. The way that is done is through a number of things. So the air that comes in through the front comes out through these ducts, is directed by this arm blade sort of on the mirrors and kept into the side of the car. And the way that it's kept into the side of the car is through this, the air wake management. There's a vent there, a duct out the back, and you've also got this fender vent here too, and those keep the air attached to the side of the car, coming up along this line into the vent under the flying buttress there, the C-pillar that you can see all the way through. That is obviously all pretty clever. Then what happens though, because you've got lots of air in here with some exit space, but not necessarily enough. Well, here there is an exit. You can see I can get inside there. So the air comes out through that design above the light. There's also another vent for pulling in the air that comes over the roof right there. There's some carbon fibre there as well. In fact, the roof is carbon fibre, which is rather nice. And then at the back, you've got this integrated lip spoiler, which works in sync with the diffuser to help keep the car down on the ground. You can see that's all quite trick. Some proper thinking has had to go into making that all work, sort of in sync with itself. Right, let's take a look also at the interior. I have the key here, so we unlock the car, put that back in my pocket. The door handle is operated by sort of pressing in here and it pulls it out, and then you pull it open, or as I think I did earlier, you can just pull it from the end. Many different ways of opening the door. Inside you've got comfort access, the seat moves back and forward depending what you want. The trim of this car is particularly nice though, with the sort of slightly cream leather against the black of the dashboard. Well, let's step in, and I'm going to start it up with the engine start-stop button here, just to make sure I don't get too hot. It's pretty warm today, even if it's not desperately sunny. So you heard the valve initially open, but then closing there. And then the engine turning off, so now we're in EV mode, quite literally. But let's take a look around. I want to show you the interior here. Alcantara finish here, which is nice. You've got all your mirror controls, your seat memory settings, a big central display, which is powered by a Garmin navigation system. If I, maybe I'll turn down the air conditioning, which we do with, where's the, see, this is why I always like to experiment. Here we go. Turn down the power. Okay, that's quite a nice way of doing it, actually. I like that, just so it's not too noisy, and then go back to the navigation. So we've got the Garmin navigation system here underneath these vents on what is quite a high sort of central tunnel, but it gives you a nice sort of driver zone, passenger zone, two sort of distinct parts of the car. Steering wheel, the sort of squared shape with the satin carbon fibre finish is a lovely thing. You've got your sort of controls for menus and different things, your displays. So on the central sort of display inside the rev counter, you can go up through all sorts of different bits and pieces there of information. I like that there's that sort of curve, metal curve over the top. That display itself, actually, if I change driving modes with the dynamic mode selector, if we turn it left to go into quiet mode, you get the details. Actually, this is quite an interesting one, just to show you all the different sort of settings as you go through, and press and hold to the right to reach track. You can see all of the settings changing, and the display itself changing colours from red to grey to blue, and a number of different settings. You've got information about your battery charge, you've got a live sort of progress bar while you're driving, of whether you're charging or whether it's using electric power, and then your traditional kind of oil gauge and fuel gauge alongside that. There's a number of sort of different materials used in here. You've got the sort of shiny sort of chrome style trim around the central buttons here. Obviously drive and manual, neutral, reverse is pulling that towards you, park, and the electric handbrake, down to release, up to engage, and the hold button. You've got a little sort of storage cubby holes around and behind, HDMI socket and a USB socket, so presumably you can run an input there to the entertainment system. But general sort of storage around and about. The glove box, just take a look there, small little glove box. But the interior's, I mean, quite a nice place, very comfortable. So during the drive, actually, I was thinking about this. The seat itself, the side bolstering, the support, probably better to show you on this seat, is really, really solid. Great, I'm sure for long distances, a very comfortable place to be. I'm trying to think what else to tell you. Visibility is wonderful, mirror view is great. The rear view mirror is quite nice with the sort of very, very narrow finish around it. And yeah, all around visibility and what you can see comes off very, very nicely. The navigation system, definitely some peculiarities in there. I don't know if we had it set funny or what the deal was, but it was an interesting one. Just play with this a little bit more, actually, just for the moment, just to see what else we've got going on. No phone connected, that's not surprising. Nice touchscreen interface. Maybe not the fastest thing in the world, but I guess does the job, does what you expect it to. Go through some empty panels, I guess you can install or add more settings and things in there. General bits and bobs, does the job. And then that is quite nice, the way you set your driving modes, literally Sport Plus. Get the engine coming back to life. I like that a lot. Engine off, engine on. So it holds a moment when you're in sport or quiet and the engine's running. If you come to a stop, it won't immediately stop in case obviously you're about to pull away again. It gives you just a split moment to release it, let it come to a rest before you go again. But I mean, I've pretty much shown you the whole thing. Actually, I should show you the boot, the available boot space. So let's cut the car off. Always an interesting test with a car. Can I get out comfortably holding a camera? Yes, did have to dip down over that roof bar, but getting in and out, not too much of a struggle. The way you open the boot, and excuse the wind here, is the button just there to the right hand side. Press that and lift it up. And you've got 110 litres back here, just behind the engine, so it does get a little bit warm being behind the engine, be aware of that. But you can fit 2 of the sort of small suitcases you can take on a plane. You can put one in, push it under, because the boot goes all the way to the end there. A case there, close it down. No problem. Just watch your legs, because that's warm. Although you couldn't button because it's underneath, but something to be aware of. All in all then, this has been a good day. It's an impressive car, no question about that. It really does bring technology, hybrid, it's a thing of the future. That's basically what this car is. It's introducing that hypercar technology into the supercar bracket, and of course the future is bringing that down to the sports car bracket and then to your everyday car. But Honda, Acura as well, of course, where this car is principally developed in America, really are bringing something new and something very exciting through that, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes into their future lineup and developments too. But I've thoroughly enjoyed this drive, getting to play and getting a sort of first glance and glimpse for me of how all of this works. The car is extraordinarily sold out already. The first couple of years of production are long gone, years ago, by virtue of the fact that it's taken quite a while for the car to arrive on market. But it's here now. It's a brilliant car to just jump behind the wheel and be able to push on very well from the word go without too much stress. Perhaps there could be a little bit more, I guess, drama to it. Certainly a lot of volume. It's not the noise, but it's positioned, more as a GT. But then if it's a GT, why doesn't it have a bigger boot? But each to their own. It's a very cool looking car, a very futuristic looking car, and one I have thoroughly enjoyed driving today. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this look at the new NSX. That is it for now. I will catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.